Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin, and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Just so you guys know, I'm no different than the rest of you. I was buzzing right along with my stitch pink. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to see it in the melanoma colorway. So guess what I did? I started immediately stitching and I never pressed record. I just got moving at it. So here we go. Here is my melanoma colorway, first stitch pink, and this is the phase that I'm at. So I need to back up and I need to finally film the initial parts that I missed out on because I got too excited and I hit to just because I got too excited and just started stitching. So one of the first things I want to go over with you is cutting it out. This is the template that comes with your pattern, and the template is pretty good, but I didn't want to retrace the template enough times. I think it's 20 times to do that. It just didn't want to do it. So what I did was I cut out my template, and I will be honest, I was able to fold, I think, 4 layers of fabric together each time I made my cut. I took my fabric and I laid down my template on top of it. And this piece is just a little bit short, so let me see if I got a piece that's a little bit longer. Here we go. You don't ever throw out a piece that you're working on. So here's a piece that I've got. I'm just going to open it up. I'm not going to bother to repress it. If I was actually cutting it for the quilt, I would absolutely take the time to repress it. Take your blade and lay it down where you want it. Then take a straight ruler. And this is my Creative Grids 5.5-inch square. It's perfect. It's small enough, but yet big enough. Take my rotary cutter. I'm going to line it right up. And the biggest thing that you've got to be careful when cutting this out is that you do not cut your paper on your template, because you need that paper on your template. So I'm just going to do one cut. I'm going to kind of angle this away so that I can get it moved. I'm going to very carefully move my ruler without moving my fabric and without moving the template from the fabric, and cut again. And then my final cut on the template, it's curved. Mine's not going to be curved. I'm just going to take my template, my ruler up to the point at the template where I won't cut paper, and cut it again. And I've got my Dresden blade that I need with no issues. I was able to rotary cut it still, and I'm very pleased with that fact, because it went much faster by being able to do it like that. The other thing that I did was I did happen to have a Creative Grids ruler that matched perfect with my Dresden circle. So you can see if I lay it on top of it, it's perfect fit. So I used this to cut out my centerpiece on my black one. All right, so now that we've got all of our fabrics cut out, I want to go through how to sew this, because it is very simple. What you're going to do is, I've got 3 pieces right here. What you're going to do first is take your blades and fold them in half with right sides together. You're going to line up your edges, and then you're going to do 1/4 inch stitch, 1/4 of an inch in, stitch right across. One of the things that I did do on mine is I did turn the stitch length way down. I think I was almost 1.8 or something like that. And the reason being is because once you get it like this, I'm going to turn this one back around. The first thing you have to do is, see where I've trimmed that? You're going to take your scissors, and I just trim diagonally. So this is my fold. These are my two seams meeting. So I fold those together, stitch them up. Then I'm going to take my scissors. Now these are pretty pointed scissors. If you have a pair of blunt tip scissors or a chopstick, you could do the same thing with that. Or if you've got, what is it called, a thang or a thingamajig or something like that. Anyhow, I'm going to stick my thumb in my seam. I'm going to lay the tip of my scissors exactly where that seam is. I'm right next to it. Can you see? I'm right next to it. You can just see my threads. And I'm just going to flip that around. And then just carefully do a poke or two so that it stays up. Okay, so now look, I've got this really nice point there. Then I'm going to take this over to the ironing board, and this is an important step. The next thing I did is I took it over to the ironing board and I took my ruler, the same ruler that I'm using, it's my 5.5 inch square, and I just laid my blade down and then I pushed my ruler up. Now you can see right here I'm at just about 4 inches, or I'm sorry, just about 2 inches wide. So I center that as best as possible, and look at what happens. My center ends up going right down the middle, which in my ruler, we got 2, 3, and 4 inches. It's right there at 3. That's where you want it. So then I can take my iron and just go over this edge, move this away, and then press the entire piece, all right? It is important that that is centered, otherwise your blades will get wonky, and we don't want wonky blades. At least I would rather not have wonky blades. So I'm going to finger press these for right now so that you can see the next step that I already did because I got in a hurry. All right, so then I'm going to, now that I've got these all ready to go, I'm going to take these and put these two right sides together. I am really concerned about this part of my blade. I don't really care that one end is longer than the other. Doesn't matter to me at all, because honestly my ends are going to be covered by my circle piece. So I'm going to take those two, I'm going to line them up, I'll pin them so you can see them. See, just line them up nice. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to make sure that this lines up going down. And then I'll just take it to my machine starting here, so 1/4 of an inch down to the edge. And now I can bring back my other piece and you can see exactly where I'm at with my melanoma. That's all I did to get to this point, and I'm telling you, it takes no time at all. The next thing I did was I found my center of my piece, and then I laid my blades on top of it. Very, very simple. The next thing we have to do is come up with our centerpiece. So you can see here I've got a piece of fabric. I think I picked this grunge. And on this side is a piece of fusible interfacing. I put my fusible interfacing face down so that the bumps were facing the right side of my fabric, and I stitched all around it. Just a tiny stitch all the way around the edge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my interfacing and separate it from my fabric. And I'm just going to put a hole in it so that I can turn this right side out. Now I will tell you, when you do this, your interfacing does kind of, well, it doesn't rip, but it almost rips. It comes real close. All right, so that's something you need to be aware of, and you should be careful. And then I've got my little handy dandy skewer right here, and I'm just going to trace it around the edge here. Just kind of get it all traced around so that when I lay it down, I come up with my nice circle. Okay, I've got a little bump right here that I've got to work out. There it goes. All right, so there is my little circle. I'm going to take it and I am going to lay it down here, just like this, lining it up where I want it to be. And then I will take it over. Is that where I want it? I gotta look at it through the camera. Well, it looks pretty good, I think. I'm gonna take it over to the ironing board and I'm just going to iron this down. All right, that's it. Iron it down, it's there, I don't have to worry about it. Then I'm gonna take this piece over to my sewing machine, and I played with different stitches on here. I didn't know if I wanted to try to do an invisible hem stitch or if I wanted to do a zigzag. I could always take this into the house and hand stitch it down, but honestly, I don't feel like it. I want to top stitch it. So these are your options. You could do a blind hem, you could do a straight top stitch, or you can do a zigzag stitch. Now, if you do a straight top stitch, I'm going to tell you, you need to be right on the very edge of this blade, because if you, let's say if you sewed way back here, a long armer, their hopping foot on their long arm could very well catch this and fold that over when they're quilting it. You don't want that to happen. So I'm going to press this piece down, and then I'm going to take the whole thing over to my sewing machine, and I am going to actually this time zigzag it, and I'm going to do it with black thread, because I think black thread against this is going to be very striking. So I'll bring it back as soon as I get it done. Alrighty, both of my Dresden blades are done. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like the zigzags. I'm not really happy with them. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think the biggest one is I'm going to take this one out, but I'm going to do it later. And maybe I'll do the hem stitch again just through here. The other ones don't bother me, but for some reason that one does. Maybe I won't mind it so much when I see it on film, but I'm not real happy with that, so I'll probably rip that one out. But here is my pink one. That one I am happy with. But I did that with, the zigzag was in here, and then I did a blind hem stitch the rest of the way. So, you know, we learn. Every time we do these things, we learn what we like and what we don't like. And I'm okay with that. If when I start taking this out, it's noticeable, I'll leave it in. I just won't take it out. That'll be it. It won't bother me that much through the quilt. It won't get to me, so I'll be okay with it. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing. So I think that's basically it. When you go to line this up, the best thing to do is to find your center. So fold and fold so that you've got a quarter of it. Just use your fingernail to press it in so that you've got a spot to go by. And then what you're going to want to do is measure the closest point to each edge of the fabric so that you've got your 12.5-inch block that you need. That's it. That is our block number 7, which is our Dresden blade, and it's called Jersey Girl. So thank you so much for sticking around with me today, and I will see you tomorrow with block number 8. All right, you made it all the way to the end of the video, and guess what? The way I had my Dresden plate stitched down on the black quilt, I really didn't like it at all. I kept looking at it and I couldn't leave it the way it was. So you can see what I've done is I took out all of my stitching. It really didn't show at all once I did it. And I put it back on, and what I used the second time was I used my blind hem stitch, and the blind hem stitch does forward stitches and then it jumps over one, comes right back, does some more forward stitches, jumps over, comes right back. So I shortened my stitch length and I shortened my stitch width a lot. Played around with it a couple of different times. So if you're going to do the same as I did, I suggest that you play around with it, try a couple of different things before you settle on one. But I am much happier with the block now and thrilled to pieces that I took the few minutes that it took to take it out and put it in again. So this is the final, or this is the end of the video now. And if you like this video, would like to see more of them, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to my channel and sharing it with your friends. Thanks so much for sticking around, and I'll see you again tomorrow with our next block.